Hello, my name is Iri Taniyuchi. I'm the Interlibrary Loan Coordinator at Georgetown University Law Center Library, and I thank you for attending my presentation that includes tips on how your library can implement a Prism Mail service under an ILL model by leveraging familiar resource sharing practices. Remember, you don't have to have specialized legal experience to offer a Prism Mail service. You do not have to be working in a law library to offer such a service, but do remember to leverage your ILL practices into the workflow. So what is Prism Mail service at Georgetown Law Library? We provide incarcerated people with free printed copies of the most current versions of U.S. primary law. Primary law are just the text of the law, such as constitutions, statutes, regulations, and cases. We accept requests in the form of letters, mailed to us from U.S. institutions, and we mail our responses to the incarcerated individual. If you want to set up a similar service at your library, we suggest using the OCLC ILL policy directory as a model, starting with the types of requests you would accept. We limit our request types to copies only. We accept letters addressed from institutions across the U.S. regardless of the presence of a library at that location or if library services are provided by the state to the incarcerated. We do not charge for Prism Mail service. For selecting locations to serve, you can start small, like servicing institutions located in your city, county, or state, or collaborate with other groups to cover regions that could use more help. The collection we choose to share is primary law, which I mentioned previously is just the text of the law without legal analyses or editorial content. We choose to provide just primary law since it is in the public domain, and we do not have to be concerned about copyrights when providing copies. We print the most current version found on the free web. You can start by providing just your state law materials. You could consider providing copies of nonprofit websites or current law information found on authoritative sites. As a format, we resort to printing the law from free web sources to avoid licensing concerns. You could consider printing open access articles, or if staffing permits, photocopying from your print collection, like copying definitions from a dictionary. We accept requests sent to us as letters mailed directly from the incarcerated person. We do not accept referrals or third-party requests. You could consider accepting requests from nonprofit groups or family members of the incarcerated person. We send responses by mail only, but you can consider sending copies through other means, such as providing PDF copies to family members so they can forward copies of what you found so as not to incur postage costs on your end. We respond to letters at the end of the month in which they are received. You can set a pace that is more convenient to you. Our maximum page limit is 50 sheets printed on both sides, which is the maximum that fits inside a catalog envelope. You can start with a smaller limit and provide enough sheets that fit inside a business-sized envelope. Your Prism Mail service policy can be made known to the incarcerated through a directory called the National Prisoner Resource List, curated by the Prison Book program. You can submit to that group a 200-word summary of your policy. Your information will appear in the list that's distributed to the incarcerated. In the letters that we receive, the incarcerated often mentions finding our service information on the resource list. We developed an all-purpose response letter template to include in our shipment. The letter includes reason for no choices so that we do not have to customize a response for every request. Following ILO practices, we return the original received letter to the sender along with our response. In a response letter template, we suggest that you start with a respectful greeting and checkboxes to describe the level of fulfillment. Including a list of reason for no choices will help expedite your processing. The language should be short but self-explanatory and accurately reflect your policy. They can mimic the reasons for no that we see every day in resource sharing. Avoid conditionalizing requests by using a catch-all reason for no option, such as your request falls outside of our policy. In addition to reason for no options, we suggest that you include either a summary of your policy in the response template or an exact copy of your policy published in the National Prisoner Resource List. We suggest describing what you provide, from what sources, to whom, and how responses will be sent. Also mention limits such as the number of sheets that can be provided, how many letters you accept from the same person in any given time, or how many citations can be requested in each letter. In a response letter template, we also recommend that you include information that will help you process the requests, like asking the person to print clearly, and reminding them that your service does not include research, so to not include personal information, legal requests, or reference questions. End your template letter with a closing salutation. We include our mailing address but exclude a department name, a room number, job title, and telephone number to help maintain anonymity. Keep in mind that even law librarians are not authorized to practice law, so when responding to prison letters, do not provide legal advice. For privacy, don't retain copies of letters or the received envelopes. Don't record names or identifying numbers. Do not write legal mail on your response letter or envelopes, as your correspondence does not fall under privileged or confidential communication. Each institution has different mail policies. When responding to any letter, we choose to follow the rules of the most restrictive of them all. Therefore, we do not use staples, paper clips, or envelopes with metal parts. You can find an institution's mail processing information on usa.gov. Just know that the information is available, but don't spend time looking up each facility's restriction for every letter. For our service, we deviate from collecting the typical ILL statistics and simply track the number of letters we receive each month. We take statistics outside of any record system, like ILLiad, and manually record numbers on a datasheet. Our advice is that you keep your statistics simple. When providing a prison mail service, you will have the opportunity to learn a unique legal citation style that's found in the Blue Book. Most letters we receive from incarcerated people include citation following the manual. So becoming familiar with this legal citation style will be very helpful and may be a professional development opportunity for you. In processing letters, you will also become familiar with the location of free online sources of federal and state law. For the U.S. Constitution, amendments, and code, we resort primarily to govinfo.gov. For federal regulations, we resort to the ECFR. For state statutes regulations, we resort to the legislature and the Secretary of State websites. For federal and state appellate cases, we use Google Scholar and its case law limiter, and we search by the Blue Book citation found in the letter. But know that some cases are just not available on the free web. More information about laws, the legal publications that they appear in, legal citations, free web sources, and search methodologies is described in an article that is the basis of this presentation. The article is published in the Journal of Library Resource Sharing. An accepted manuscript version is freely available on SSRN. Thank you for attending this presentation. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.